members of the Victorian Greens, and it is my honor to invite Senator Janet Rice to give us a speech for today.
နောက်ထပ်မှာစကားပြောကြားပေးမယ်ဂုဏ်တည်ရှိဧည့်သည်တော်ကတော့ Australia နိုင်ငံရေးသမားလက်ရှိ Australian Greens Party ဖွဲ့ဝင်ဖြစ်ပြီး Maribyrnong ခေါင်းစီဝင်ဟောင်းနဲ့မြို့တော်ဝင်ဟောင်းတဘာဝပတ်ဝန်းကျင်ထိန်းသိမ်းရေးသမားလည်းဖြစ်ကVictoria Greens Party ရဲ့တည်ထောင်သူများတွေကတယောက်လည်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရှင်ဒီနေ့အတွက်မှာစကားပြောကြားပေးဖို့အထက်လွှတ်တော်အမတ် Janet Rice ကိုဂုဏ်ယူစွာနဲ့ဖိတ်ကြားလိုပါတယ်ရှင်
Thank you so much, Sean and Mary, and thank you everyone who I'm joining here today from around the world. I want to start by acknowledging that I'm here in Melbourne in Australia, which is on Wurundjeri country, and to acknowledge that the traditional owners of this country are still the traditional owners, that sovereignty was never ceded, and that as Australian society, as a settler Australian, that I am living and working on stolen land. And I want to commit us all to be working together, to be working for justice, for treaties and for truth-telling and for peace on our country here that is known as Australia. Look, it is my really great privilege to be joining you today, to be working together, to be fighting for the return of democracy in Myanmar. And I extend my solidarity to the people of Myanmar and the diaspora here in Australia and around the world, and acknowledge all of those who have passed away, have been persecuted, tortured and killed, or have had friends and family and community persecuted, tortured and killed in defence of democracy, fighting for people's rights. But democracy is a beautiful thing. It embraces the innate human rights of everyone. It says that everyone has got the right to self-determination as well as equality and freedom. And democracy recognises people's shared rights and their vision for their nation. And a robust and fully fledged democracy says that all people are equal and that their rights are equal no matter what their background is, no matter whether they are rich or poor, no matter their ethnic background, their gender, their sexuality, their ability or disabilities. That everyone, every human being on this planet has the right to be living a life of peace, of freedom, of being able to realise their dreams, of good health, of access to education for themselves and their families. And democracy means that people don't get special favours just because they're wealthy or they come from a powerful family or have got the support of powerful friends or even a powerful army to swing in behind them, as we have seen in the attacks on democracy and freedom in Myanmar. I mean, we aren't there yet in Australia. The rich and the powerful here still have too much power and control and override the wishes of the people. But in Myanmar, you are getting there. You're making great strides towards equality of opportunity and civil rights. But of course, the coup has set that back massively. So the question is, what do we keep on doing? From the time when this coup occurred earlier this year, it's been a long, hard slog so far, and it's easy to feel dispirited. But we cannot afford to feel dispirited. We have to keep working together for peace and for democracy. We have to keep on doing everything we can because the people of Myanmar who are suffering at the moment matter. So I really want to call out for us all to keep on working together. The civil disobedience movement, the diaspora, and particularly countries all around the globe need to play our part to tell the junta, the military dictatorship, that what has happened in Myanmar is not acceptable, that they cannot operate as part of the global rules-based order if they are oppressing their people. If, with the junta killing people in the streets, torturing people in prison, using the COVID pandemic as a weapon of war. We need to continue to be taking action. In Australia, we have been waiting for ASEAN to act. And of course, that means we've been waiting for a very long time. We saw this week, absolutely shamefully, our Defence Minister, Peter Dutton, met with ASEAN, including Myanmar, being represented by the junta. And we call on Australia and all countries around the world to continue to deny the legitimacy of the junta. We should not recognise the junta at ASEAN. We were appalled to see our Defence Minister meet with the Myanmar junta at that ASEAN meeting. So the Greens in Australia, we continue to demand that the Australian government should be imposing targeted sanctions against the junta and the junta's business interests that are financing the violence against the people of Myanmar. And the Australian government keeps on telling us that they don't think it's in our national interest to be imposing sanctions. I cannot see how this is the case. Surely it is in our national interest to have a return to democracy in Myanmar rather than having a military dictatorship on our doorstep. So on behalf of so many people in Australia, I say we continue to be in solidarity with the people of Myanmar, in solidarity with the National Unity Government, and continue to be working so that people have that sense that they can be returning to democracy, and continue to help with international emergency and humanitarian assistance, especially in the light of the COVID pandemic. So rather than legitimising the junta through meeting with the generals, the Australian government should be meeting and continuing to meet with representatives of the National Unity Government and acknowledge the National Unity Government as the government of Myanmar, and assert that the representative of a military coup are not a legitimate government and should not be acknowledged as stuff. We should in Australia be, in the meantime, accepting more people who wish to come to Australia and to be accepted here as permanent residents of Australia so that they can have safety in the meantime while the fight for justice and democracy is ongoing in Myanmar. I extend my solidarity to all the people of Myanmar and your inspirational struggle for democracy in your country. We see you, we recognise you, and pledge our support to you in your fight for a just and fair democratic country. Thank you once again for inviting me to join you today.
Thank you, Senator Janet, for coming here today and showing support to our people. We all are very truly blessed to have your support in our revolution.